Before this list ends, you are going to see one name that appears in 3 different cases, 3 different decades, and 3 different courtrooms. A name that most people who love rock music have never once connected to the lawsuits that changed this industry forever. That is the thread. Hold on to it, because what this list is actually about is not just theft, it is about how an entire genre was built, and who paid the price when the building went up. 10 bands, 1 map. Let's start where the chain begins. Number 10, John Lennon. In 1969, John Lennon wrote "Come Together" for Abbey Road. Paul McCartney was in the studio when Lennon brought in the opening lines. I hope someday. Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly, and immediately recognized where they came from. Imagine all the people. McCartney stopped him. "John, stop. That's You Can't Catch Me" by Chuck Berry. Lennon knew it. He had borrowed the line from Berry's 1956 recording, which opens, "Here come a flat top, he was moving up with me." No immigration, too. Lennon slowed the tempo, rewrote the melody underneath, and built something different enough that he felt it was his. It was not different enough for Morris Levy. Levy was the publisher who owned the rights to Berry's You Can't Catch Me. He was not Chuck Berry. He was a music industry businessman who had accumulated a catalog of rock and roll publishing rights. And when he heard the opening lines of "Come Together," he sued Lennon's Apple Records in late 1969. The case dragged for 4 years. When it finally settled in October 1973, Lennon agreed to record 3 Levy-owned songs on his next album. I hope someday you'll join us. He recorded 2. He left 1 off. Levy sued again for breach of contract and won $6,795 in damages. Imagine no possessions. Then Lennon sent unreleased demo recordings to Levy as a gesture of good faith. Levy released them commercially, without permission, as a mail-order album. But I'm not the only one. Lennon, Capitol, and EMI countersued. The court awarded them $109,700 in royalties and $35,000 in additional damages. All the people. A single borrowed lyric, 1 opening line from Chuck Berry, and it spiraled into 5 years of litigation, 2 lawsuits, multiple court rulings, and an album released without consent. I wonder if we can. Number 9, The Beach Boys, Plant 63. My buddies and me, you're getting real well known. The Beach Boys released Surfin' USA. Brian Wilson was 20 years old, building the sound of an era, and he was completely candid about what he had done. He took Chuck Berry's 1958 song Sweet Little 16, the chord progression, the melody, the structure, swapped out Berry's lyrics about rock and roll hotspots for new lyrics about California surf spots, and issued it under the Beach Boys name. Wilson's intent was to pay tribute. His execution was a different matter. He never got permission. Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around. Berry's publisher, Arc Music, threatened legal action. The Beach Boys' manager and Brian Wilson's father, Murray Wilson, made a deal. He handed over the publishing rights to Surfin' USA to Arc Music, Chuck Berry's publisher, to make the threat go away. I gotta find a new place where the kids are hip. Berry's name did not appear in the songwriting credits until 1966. This is the entry where the shape of the map starts to become visible. Here is Chuck Berry again, the same Chuck Berry who just got a settlement from John Lennon. One man, two cases, two different white rock artists who built chart-topping hits on his musical foundation, and neither of them came to him first.
Yeah, the bad guys know us and they leave us alone.
And this pattern, this is not the last time you will see it tonight. Plant this, because the name under number 1 carries this same thread all the way to its conclusion.
I'm getting bugged driving up and down the same old.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8. Huey Lewis and the News. In 1983, Huey Lewis and the News released I Want a New Drug, a driving, mid-tempo rocker that became one of the defining sounds of early 1984. In the same year, the producers of the film Ghostbusters needed a theme. They approached Huey Lewis first. He declined. They then gave Ray Parker Jr. the assignment. And, according to a 2004 article in Premiere magazine, gave him footage from the film with Lewis's song playing as temp music in the background. The theme that Parker delivered had the same feel, the same rhythmic pulse, the same forward momentum as I Want a New Drug. Lewis heard it when it hit number 1 that summer and contacted his lawyer. He sued. They settled in 1995 out of court for an undisclosed amount. And both sides signed a confidentiality agreement that prohibited either party from discussing the case publicly. In 2001, Huey Lewis appeared on VH1's Behind the Music and discussed the settlement. Ray Parker Jr. sued Lewis for breaching the confidentiality agreement. Parker reportedly won money from that second suit. Lewis had turned a court victory into a net loss by talking about the court victory. The band that was stolen from ended up paying twice. Here is where the map gets interesting.
Hollywood and the Sunset Strip is something everyone should see.
Because the next entry is where the theft went to court, the jury came back with a verdict, and the lead singer screamed in the courtroom that the verdict was a lie. Number 7, the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees' How Deep Is Your Love came out in 1977 as part of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 17 weeks in the top 10. It was, by any measure, one of the biggest songs of that decade. In 1978, a part-time musician from suburban Illinois named Ronald Sell was working in his yard when he heard his teenage neighbor playing a cassette. He recognized the melody. He recognized it because he believed it was his. Sell had written a song called Let It End in 1975. He recorded a home demo, copyrighted it, and sent it to 14 music publishers. 11 returned the materials unopened. 3 never responded. The song was never released. Selle had performed it with his small band a handful of times in the Chicago area. That was it. He listened to How Deep Is Your Love. He heard the same melodic material he believed he had written. He sued. The case went to trial in February 1983. Selle's expert witness, a music professor at Northwestern University, testified that the similarities between the two songs were so striking that they could not be the result of independent creation. He said he had never, in his career, encountered two compositions by different composers that shared as many structural similarities. The jury found the Bee Gees guilty. Robin Gibb stood up in that Chicago courtroom and shouted at the verdict. That verdict was a lie. A lie lies. I don't believe it, Barry Gibb slumped in his chair. Maurice Gibb was in Los Angeles hosting the Grammy Awards and was not there when the verdict was read. The judge overturned the jury decision. His ruling held that Selle had failed to prove the Bee Gees ever had access to his song. A song that was never released, never performed more than a few times in the Chicago suburbs, never appeared in any documentation that could have reached the Bee Gees studio in France, could not form the basis of a plagiarism case, regardless of how similar the two songs sounded. The Bee Gees were cleared, but the case established a legal precedent still cited in music copyright today. Striking similarity alone is not enough. You have to prove access. The verdict was overturned, but Robin Gibb's scream in that courtroom is real history. Number 6. Rod Stewart.
It'll rain a sunny day.
In 1978, Rod Stewart attended the Rio Carnival. He heard a Brazilian musician named Jorge Ben-Yor perform a song called Taj Mahal.
Through the circle, fast and slow.
The melody embedded itself somewhere in his memory and went quiet. Later that year, Stewart was in the studio working on what would become Do You Think I'm Sexy? The disco-inflected crossover that would become his highest-charting single. When he reached for a chorus melody, something surfaced. He wrote it. He recorded it. He released it. It was the chorus of Taj Mahal. Jorge Ben-Yor noticed. He sued. The case was settled in Ben-Yor's favor. Stewart's response was unusual in the history of rock litigation. He did not fight it. He did not appeal.
When it's over, so they say.
He wrote in his 2012 autobiography, "Clearly the melody had lodged itself in my memory and then resurfaced. Unconscious plagiarism, plain and simple. I handed over the royalties. All of them. Every dollar that Do You Think I'm Sexy ever generated went to UNICEF." Rod Stewart, who had already taken criticism from his rock fan base for making a disco record, never earned a single pound from the song that became his commercial peak. There is something worth sitting with there. The biggest hit of his career, the song that defined his mainstream legacy. The one that got the most radio play and sold the most copies. It made him nothing. The melody came from somewhere else. He admitted it. He gave back what wasn't his.
Cold and rain is hard, I know.
Number 5. John Fogerty. The case where a man was sued for sounding too much like himself. John Fogerty wrote Run Through the Jungle in 1970. It went on Cosmo's Factory, one of Creedence Clearwater Revival's defining albums. When CCR broke up in 1972, acrimoniously, with Fogerty on one side and Fantasy Records and its president Saul Zaentz on the other, Fogerty lost control of the CCR catalog entirely. Fantasy owned it, Zaentz owned it, Fogerty was shut out. He stepped away from music for almost a decade. In 1985, he came back. His solo album Centerfield debuted at number 1. The lead single was The Old Man Down the Road, a swampy, propulsive track built on the same musical instincts Fogerty had always had. It sounded like Creedence Clearwater Revival. It sounded like John Fogerty. It sounded like John Fogerty because it was John Fogerty's. Fantasy Records sued him anyway. Their argument, The Old Man Down the Road, plagiarized Run Through the Jungle, the song Fogerty had written in 1970, the song Fantasy now owned the rights to. Saul Zaentz was suing John Fogerty for sounding like John Fogerty. In 1988, the case went to a jury. Fogerty performed both songs in court on guitar to demonstrate their differences. The jury deliberated for 35 minutes and found for Fogerty. He won. But he had spent $1.09 million in legal fees defending himself from a lawsuit about his own voice, his own musical identity, and his own writing instincts. The case eventually reached the Supreme Court on a separate question, whether a winning defendant in a copyright case could recover their legal fees, and Fogerty won that argument too. He won every legal battle. He still spent over $1 million defending himself against a man suing him for sounding like himself. Once you see this connection, you will hear rock lawsuits differently, because from here on down, the consequences stop being financial. Number 4, Men at Work.
Stay away. Don't you invade my home.
This is where a copyright case became a human tragedy. Down Under came out in 1981. It won Men at Work a Grammy for Best New Artist. It went to number 1 in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States.
They follow me. It's not the future.
The flute riff, played by Greg Ham, the band's multi-instrumentalist, became one of the most recognizable hooks in pop music history. Ham incorporated it as a musical joke, he later explained, a 2-bar echo of Kookaburra Sits in the Old Gum Tree, the Australian children's folk song written in 1934 by Marion Sinclair.
State of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend.
He thought it was a fun nod to Australian tradition. He played it once in live shows. It ended up in the recording. 26 years passed. In 2007, a contestant on an Australian television quiz show identified the Kookaburra melody inside the flute riff.
Who can it be now?
The company that owned the rights to Kookaburra, Larrikin Music Publishing, which had purchased those rights in 1990 for $6,100, filed suit.
He said the man come to take me away. Why do
Men at Work lost. In 2010, the Australian federal court ruled that Down Under infringed the copyright of Kookaburra. Men at Work and their label were ordered to pay Larrikin 5% of the song's royalties, dating back to 2002. Every appeal failed.
that I can see? It's just my fantasy.
Greg Ham was not sued personally. The legal claim was against the songwriters, Colin Hay and Ron Strikert. But Ham had played the riff. He had introduced it. And the weight of that statement he made about the case, I'm terribly disappointed that that's the way I'm going to be remembered, for copying something.
And I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone.
Ham was found dead at his home in Carlton North, Melbourne, on April 19, 2012. He was 58. His cause of death was a suspected heart attack.
Here they come. Those feelings again.
Friends said his battle with addiction had escalated after the trial.
Go away. Don't come round here no more. Can't you see?
Colin Hay would later suggest that the stress of the court case had played a role in the deaths of both Ham and his own father. A two-bar riff, a musical joke, a case that took 26 years to appear and destroyed the man who played it.
That it's late at night. I'm very tired.
Number 3, Michael Bolton.
Tell me how am I supposed to live with
This is where the jury delivered the largest plagiarism verdict in music history, and the Supreme Court declined to save him.
the hope that one day we'd be so much more?
Michael Bolton released Love is a Wonderful Thing in 1991. It reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. The production was big, polished, unmistakably early 90s adult contemporary.
Without you.
It had a soul radio feel that Bolton had built his late career around. The Isley Brothers had released a song called Love is a Wonderful Thing in 1966.
All that I've been living for is gone.
It was a minor release on a United Artists single. It never charted. It was not included on any of their studio albums. It was rarely, if ever, played on the radio.
Now that I've been loving you so long.
By 1991, it had been essentially invisible for 25 years. Ronald Isley heard Bolton's version in 1992 and recognized the title.
Now that your dream has come true.
He looked for his credit. It was not there. He called Bolton's people. Bolton's people said they had never heard the Isley Brothers song. The Isley Brothers filed suit.
And how can I blame you when I built my world around?
At trial, the case turned on one problem for Bolton. He had spent his entire adult life professing his love for soul music and for the Isley Brothers specifically. A work tape played in court caught Bolton asking his co-writer whether the song they were composing might accidentally sound like a Marvin Gaye track. The jury understood what that question meant. You do not ask that question about a song you composed independently. In April 1994, the jury ruled in favor of the Isley Brothers. The verdict, $5.4 million, the largest award in the history of music plagiarism at that time. Bolton appealed. He hired Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. The Recording Industry Association of America filed a brief in his support.
So tell me all about it. Tell me about
The Ninth Circuit upheld the verdict. In January 2001, the United States Supreme Court declined to hear his appeal.
breakdown. It's just a dream of mine is coming.
Bolton told Billboard, "It's been a devastating time. It's been an enraging time. I have no faith in the justice system."
More than friends.
The total payout, from Bolton personally, from his co-writer, and from Sony Music Publishing, exceeded $5 million for a song the Isley Brothers' version of had never charted, never appeared on an album, and barely left the warehouse. Number 2, George Harrison. In November 1970, George Harrison released My Sweet Lord. It became the first post-Beatles solo single to hit number 1 in the UK. It sold enormously, it was everywhere, and almost immediately, people started noticing. The Chiffons' He's So Fine had hit number 1 in America in 1963, spending 5 weeks at the top of the charts during the period when the Beatles were first touring the United States. George Harrison was in America when He's So Fine was everywhere. The melody had gone into his memory and stayed there. 7 years later, when Harrison reached for a spiritual melody to anchor My Sweet Lord, he pulled it back out, without knowing that was what he was doing. Ronnie Mac's estate, through the music company Bright Tunes, filed suit in 1971. The case did not reach a verdict until September 1976. Judge Richard Owen's ruling is still quoted in music copyright cases today. It is clear that My Sweet Lord is the very same song as He's So Fine. This is, under the law, infringement of copyright, and is no less so, even though subconsciously accomplished. Harrison was ordered to pay $1,159,987. But the case did not end there. In a twist that reads like something from a legal thriller, Alan Klein, Harrison's former manager, had acquired the rights to Bright Tunes music during the litigation itself. He was now the owner of the song Harrison had been found guilty of plagiarizing. Harrison paid Klein the money. To prevent Klein from exploiting the connection further, Harrison eventually bought the rights to He's So Fine himself. Harrison wrote in his autobiography that the case left him paranoid about writing. The judge had found that his most celebrated solo work was a crime he had committed without knowing he was committing it.
Give me life, keep me free from birth.
The Chiffons later recorded their own version of My Sweet Lord. The original artists covered the song they had accidentally inspired. The thread that has been running through entries 10, 9, and 2 is about to land. Plant this. Almost every case on this list traces back to the same foundation. White rock acts building on Black American musical tradition. Uncredited.
Lord, trying to touch, reach you with.
George Harrison took from a black girl group song. The Beach Boys took from Chuck Berry. John Lennon took from Chuck Berry.
Life, keep me free from birth, give me a hope.
Number 1, Led Zeppelin. The band with more documented plagiarism cases than any act in rock history. The band whose lead singer, when asked about one of those cases, said, "You only get caught when you're successful. That's the game." Willie Dixon was the architect of Chicago blues. He wrote the songs that made Chess Records the most important label in American music. His compositions, through Muddy Waters, through Howlin' Wolf, through Sonny Boy Williamson, defined the sound that became the foundation of every British invasion band that followed. Led Zeppelin built their second album on that foundation and did not credit it. Bring It On Home, from Led Zeppelin II, 1969. Copied directly from Sonny Boy Williamson's recording of the same name, which Dixon wrote. The intro and outro of the Williamson original were transplanted into the Zeppelin track almost intact. Jimmy Page himself acknowledged it was intended as a homage. Dixon did not see it that way. Arc Music, the publishing arm of Chess Records, sued in 1972, settled out of court. Dixon and Howlin' Wolf received credits and an undisclosed sum. The Lemon song on the same album had lifted from Howlin' Wolf's Killing Floor and was settled in the same action. Whole Lotta Love, also from Led Zeppelin II. The riff was Page's. The lyrics were Plant's, borrowed directly from Dixon's You Need Love, recorded by Muddy Waters in 1962. Robert Plant later told Musician magazine, "Page's riff was Page's riff. I just thought, well, what am I going to sing? That was it, a nick, now happily paid for." Dixon filed suit in 1985, settled in 1987, and received an undisclosed payment. But Led Zeppelin's label issued no credit for Dixon on Whole Lotta Love until 1999. Not 1987, not after the settlement, 1999, 3 decades after the song was released. Dixon's widow filed a second suit in 1996. That too was settled in 1998. The credit appeared the following year, Dazed and Confused. Jake Holmes wrote and performed the original in 1967. Jimmy Page heard it at a Holmes concert, incorporated it into the Yardbirds set as I'm Confused, and brought it to Led Zeppelin's debut album without crediting Holmes. Holmes filed suit in 2010. The case settled with Holmes receiving a songwriting credit. Boogie with Stu, from Physical Graffiti, borrowed from Richie Valens' Ooh, My Head. Led Zeppelin paid a settlement to Valens' mother and listed her in the credits, though the credit as listed was still insufficient to fully acknowledge the source. Stairway to Heaven. Randy California of the band Spirit claimed the opening acoustic arpeggio was lifted from Spirit's 1968 instrumental Taurus. Led Zeppelin and Spirit had shared billing on tours in 1968 and 1969. California went public with his claim for decades before a formal lawsuit was filed in 2014 by his estate after his death. Zeppelin won that case in 2016. They won again when the Supreme Court declined to hear the appeal in 2020. But here is the thread that has been running through this entire list, and this is where it lands. Willie Dixon, the man who wrote Whole Lotta Love, the man who wrote Bring It On Home, the man who spent years in courtrooms after Led Zeppelin built 2 of rock's most celebrated albums on his compositions without credit.